So you're a two-finger player who finally wants to try claw, but you're too intimidated or find it difficult to even try four-finger claw? Well, today I'll teach you how to go from 2 to 3 fingers easily. Think of this as your first step into a larger world. I'll teach you how to go from 2 to 3 fingers all the way to 6 fingers. Oh, and by the way, we're doing it all on the phone, not a tablet. Before I started playing on a tablet, I was already playing with 5 fingers on my phone. So all I did was reverse engineer my 5 finger HUD and bridge it all the way to 2 fingers, which might be your starting point. Each setup you'll find in this series is built in a way that you'll find it easy, if not easier, to progress using more fingers, unlocking your full potential. I'm pretty happy with what I came up with, and I hope you'll find it useful. This is the default 2 finger HUD. The first thing I'm going to move is the fire button, which is right here, just above where my right thumb naturally rests. If you're coming from this HUD, you might be comfortable with where it is right now, so just leave it there. We just have to fix a couple of settings for our fire button to work as intended. First, under controls, make sure you have advanced mode on, and toggle hip fire as your shooting mode. With this setting, you won't ADS to fire whenever you hold this R fire button. Just hip fire. This will be important for close range engagements, but we'll go more in depth about that later. Next, in case you don't have it on, make sure you have R fire button for camera rotation turned on under basic settings. This will allow you to move your aim while your finger is on the R fire button, allowing you to track enemies while firing in this setup. Of course, if we're shooting targets at range, we need to aim. Now, our ADS button will be on the upper right part of the screen and will be toggled by the right index finger. Now, for the settings you need to fix, go to basic settings, make sure you have ADS button for rotation off, so your aim won't be affected every time you toggle the ADS button. Oh, and make sure you have tap to ADS as your setting. So far, we already have aiming and firing. At this point, I'd recommend you to get used to toggling both of these buttons. Get used to hip firing, ADSing then firing, then unscoping while firing to transition to hip firing. This will give you a solid foundation of muscle memory before incorporating movement. First, put your slide button just by the lower left side of the ADS button. Second, put your jump button just below the ADS button, just by the right side of the slide button. Now get used to toggling your slide when it comes to sliding back into cover, or using your jump button to climb obstacles or bunny hopping. You could even practice your dolphin jump right here. At this point, without me even telling you, you might have already tried slide peeking and jump peeking. Well, we're taking advantage of a unique COD Mobile feature where it allows you to toggle the ADS button by swiping onto it right from a movement button. That means you can jump peek by tapping and holding jump, then quickly sliding your finger to the ADS button to scope in. Same with slide peeking. Tap and hold slide, then swipe your finger towards the ADS button to perform a slide peek. I am turning on tap indicator so you can see the timing of every tap and swipe I make when performing the most used COD Mobile movements. Slide peeking, and jump peeking. Practice slide peeking and jump peeking coming from either side before moving on to bunny hopping and slide jump bunny hop. You can easily do a dolphin jump with this HUD too. Now filling out the rest of the HUD, I have my joystick just where my left thumb rests at 90%. You'll find that I have my weapon switch button just beside my fire button. It's just convenient to have, and you can still see your ammo at the default weapon HUD position. I have the reload button right here, just below where my right thumb usually is. And you can find the grenade button right by it. I have the operator skill on the rightmost part of my screen, and I'll be toggling it with my right thumb. I have the mini-map on top, just on the left side of the center line. It's easy for me to see. I have the scoreboard on the upper left, but you can put it anywhere you like. Now you might ask, why no prone button? We're taking it one step at a time, and aside from not wanting to overwhelm you, right now it just doesn't work as well as I want it to when sliding my finger towards the ADS button after toggling the prone button. So to drop shot, just hold on the crouch button while firing when ADS'd. And while we're at it, let me show you my settings while using this 3 finger setup. Seeing is believing, so I'll show you how this setup works in a real ranked match. Now that you've mastered the basics of 3-finger gameplay, it's time to take the next step. Unlock a whole new level of gameplay. Faster reactions, smoother moves, and the power of slide canceling, all with a 4-finger HUD. So, you're a 3-finger player looking to step up your game, but 4-finger claw seems intimidating? Today, I'll guide you on how to smoothly transition to 4 fingers for slide canceling and sniping. Consider this your stepping stone to mastering 5 and even 6 fingers. And yes, we're doing this all on the phone, no tablet needed. I feel like I've been using the 5-finger HUD for the longest time now, but the 4-finger HUD gave me the biggest jump in terms of gameplay. This is my classic 4-finger HUD, and if you're coming from the 3-finger HUD video from last week, you'll be in great shape. Here's our current 3-finger HUD. Since we're making the jump from 3 to 4 fingers, it makes sense to divide our screen into 4 parts. For our lower left part, we'll use our left thumb to control our joystick. People like it big, other people like it small, but if you want to find the perfect starting point for your joystick, just touch the screen and look at the contact point between your thumb and the screen. That's how big the inner circle in your joystick should be. We'll also use our left thumb to toggle our score streaks as well. One important setting you might want to turn on is joystick auto sprint, because that lets me activate my score streaks while I'm sprinting around the map. For the lower right part of the screen, you'll use your right thumb for aiming, but you can also set it up where everything is easy to reach for things like reloading, toggling your tactical and lethal equipment, and activating your operator skill. You can also set your split throw button to on, so you have your tactical and lethal equipment separate to save time in choosing which one you want to use. For the upper right part of our screen, we'll have 4 buttons here. And you want to dedicate this section for movement while having our ADS button here. Once again, make sure your ADS button for rotation is turned off and have your ADS setting to tap to ADS. Also, turn off the hide prone button setting so the prone button will show up on your HUD. Now for the 4th finger, which is the left index finger, that we'll use to toggle the upper left part of our screen, we'll have 2 fire buttons here. We'll have the ADS to fire button and our left fire button side by side with the ADS to fire button on the left and the left fire button on the right. Make sure your controls are in advanced mode. Put your shooting mode on 1-tap ADS. That's because for the most part, we won't actually use the ADS to fire button to fire, but we'll use it to slide cancel, but more on that later. For the last button on the upper left part, it's the weapon switch button. Since you won't be firing whenever you weapon switch, just put it below the 2 fire buttons so it's still easy to reach. So how this HUD works is all on the 4th finger. The left fire button allows me to hit fire whenever needed, and the ADS to fire button, while you can still use it to fire when slide peeking and jump peeking, I mostly use it to slide cancel around the map. The movement buttons that are on the right will focus on your movement. This will also give us an easier time to snipe since we have separate buttons for aiming and firing. Here's the rest of the settings I use for this HUD. This brings me a lot of memories, but it's time to actually put my classic 4-finger HUD to use. Score streak while running. Please remind me. I'm so dumb. Yo, score streak while running, baby. What a dumbass. Score streak while running again, baby. Yes, out. I'm the ghost. I'm the. Hardpoint is ours. Hardpoint is got you, fam. Ready to unlock even more control? Let's move on to 5 fingers. If you want to finally unleash your full potential, with the freedom of doing anything you can ever imagine in COD Mobile, using a 5-finger HUD can give you just that. If you're a 4-finger player and finding yourself a bit limited in terms of mechanics, trust me, making the jump to 5 fingers will solve everything. It's so good that even pro players are now switching to it, even after years and years of playing on 4 fingers. But even if you don't want to be a pro, that's completely fine. Maybe you can even get to top 5k in the leaderboards. Oh yeah, this is my personal HUD and I've been using it for the past 3 years. And it has served me well. Just like with the previous setups, you will be better off basing all the buttons from the shape of your device and the size of your screen. There's a little trick I do to reduce pressure on my aiming finger, and that's tucking my charging cable between my left, middle, and ring finger, which helps support the phone while playing. For the lower left part, which we control with our left thumb, we're going to have this for controlling your joystick and activating score streaks mainly. Remember that I have auto run on, so I can still use score streaks even when I'm on the run around the map. I use my right thumb to control the lower right area of my screen. This includes aiming, toggling grenades, and activating my operator skill. Additionally, I use my right thumb to toggle action buttons and pick up weapons. The upper right part of my screen contains the 3 movement buttons and the reload button. The most used button in COD Mobile besides aiming and shooting is probably the crouch button, which is used for sliding. So I place this button where my right index finger lands. I have a bad habit of reloading often to keep my magazine full, so I place the reload button just above the crouch button. The jump button is right beside it for easy access. The prone button, which I actually use often, is located below. I'm okay with needing to reach a bit to toggle it. Lastly, with the upper left of my screen, where I have the ADS button, I toggle this with my left middle finger. Just below that, I can reach the weapon switch button. It makes sense for these 2 buttons to be close together, since you'd never aim down sights while switching weapons. My fire button is as large as possible, so my finger always lands on it. I also keep it on the lowest opacity to minimize distractions. I use my left index finger to fire, as well as to toggle the minimap sometimes for quick info. Since I have a dedicated finger for aiming, my ADS setting is on tap and hold. It's simply easier for me to release my finger when I want to exit ADS. It's pretty straightforward. Having tap and hold to ADS as your ADS setting gives you the best feeling of sniping, allows you to switch between ADS and hip firing seamlessly, and allows you to slide cancel without compromising on anything. You might feel a slight discomfort in the beginning on whichever hand you're using 3 fingers with, but once you get over the hump, trust me, it's worth it. Again, here's the rest of the settings I use for this HUD.
Capture the objective. UAV recon contested. Ready to jam enemy UAV. Counter hardpoint contested. Friendly flame knot is ready to jam enemy UAV. Counter UAV up. They're blind. Hostiles have the hardpoint contested. Ready to jam enemy UAV. UAV online.
Finally, let's explore the ultimate in control, the 6-finger setup. So, you're thinking about switching to a 6-finger HUD in COD Mobile. It's super tempting. Having total control over your HUD sounds awesome. While you might not get the same gains from each extra finger, there's no denying that 6-finger setups could give you the best control. Personally, I find 5 fingers to be perfect, but if you're all about max control, 6 fingers might be your best bet. Now, playing on a phone with 2 to 3 fingers, that's pretty comfortable. 4 to 5 fingers can get uncomfortable, and I actually play with support when playing with 5 fingers. With 6 fingers, there's not much support on the phone, so I'd actually recommend you to play on a stand or play with a pillow on your lap to reduce strain on your hand, wrist, and fingers. So how do we implement 6 fingers? I'll be honest, it'll be my first or second time playing this many fingers on a phone, and coming off of 5 fingers, here's how I look to build it. For the upper left part of my screen, I have my left middle finger toggling the ADS button and the weapon switch button. Even though it worked really well for me so far, sometimes I either misclick the weapon switch when trying to aim or not tap the ADS button in time to react to an enemy. So I dedicate my left middle finger to the ADS button and assign the weapon switch button to our 6th finger. I'm pretty content with how my lower left HUD is right now. I still have auto sprint on so I can toggle my score streaks while still on the move. I want to have my right thumb focused purely with aiming, and grenade buttons sometimes get in the way of that. Moving them out of the way means there's zero interruptions or distractions when it comes to me aiming, so moving them out of the way and assigning them to our 6th finger. I also usually trigger the operator skill with my right thumb, so I'm moving it up so I can assign it to our 6th finger as well. That leaves us the upper right part of the screen. You'll see that it's really crowded right now, but let me break it down how it's gonna go. These 4 buttons will be toggled by my right index finger, while the buttons for the lethal and tactical equipment, the weapon switch button, and the operator skill will be toggled by our 6th finger, the right middle finger. Make sure you turn on the split throw button for the grenades, and turn on the one tap weapon switch button so you have this dedicated button right here. Building off of the 5-finger HUD, I still use the charging cable for support, and right now I actually use a pillow to support my arms and the phone so I can still aim comfortably and toggle all buttons with my fingers. Now I have fully dedicated fingers for the ADS and fire button, as well as less interruptions when it comes to my aiming finger, which is my right thumb. I kinda like this HUD and it's so good that I'm thinking of using it for a little bit longer. This 6-finger HUD setup is a game changer, and the Red Magic 10 Pro makes it incredibly comfortable to use. The phone's completely flat design with no camera bump means no more annoying bumps digging into your palm. With a massive 6.85-inch screen and a 95.3% screen to body ratio, there's ample space for all your controls, eliminating accidental touches. The 144Hz refresh rate and 960Hz touch sampling rate ensure buttery smooth gameplay and lightning fast response times. And if you need an extra edge in COD Mobile, you can add a custom crosshair that stays on your screen so you can always see where you're aiming. Plus, with the ISX cooling system and a massive 7050 mAh battery, you can game for hours on end without worrying about overheating or running out of juice. Anyway, here's the rest of the settings that I use to make this HUD work well for me, and here's the 6-finger HUD code right now for Garena users. Now it's time to show some gameplay of this 6-finger setup. And that's how you can progress all the way from 2 to 6 fingers on a phone in COD Mobile. Let me know in the comments which setup you prefer and if you have any questions.